Drink of the hour is a lucky leprechaun. Wanna give it a shot?
How lucky are we talking here?
I forget where the ingredients are from.
Why not? What's the worst that could happen?
Excellent.
Hey everybody, it's fraboymaster back from Teenagemutantninjascrubs, and today I'm posting my Mass Effect Andromeda review. I do think that some of the previous reviews and some of the previous gripes at the game, I should say, are just a little bit harsh considering the amount of content that's in the game and so on and so forth. But as you can see, there are some issues with the game regarding, facial capture and the characters themselves being able to express some sort of emotion, whether it be angry or sad or so on and so forth. There's also some glitches in there as well. But the game itself is about the size of Mass Effect 1, 2 and 3 put together. And it certainly gives you value for money for what you get. Now, I do appreciate that, the facial animations, the lip syncing and stuff like that sometimes is a little bit off, and it can be a little bit off-putting. But given that you can look past that, I think you'll find that Under the Hood is a pretty rip-roaring game. Now, looking through rose-tinted spectacles at Mass Effect 1, 2 and 3, we all can appreciate just how groundbreaking those games were. The conversation setup that we had in those games, the fact that Ryder was an absolute badass, and quite simply you'll probably never be able to emulate another character like that in a Mass Effect game, because it would just draw comparisons to the original. Now, I do appreciate that some of the characters in this game do appear kinda weak compared to Mass Effect 1, 2 and 3, but putting that aside, is the game worth your money? Is it worth your time? In my opinion, yeah, it is. If you like any type of Mass Effect type of game, or The Witcher or anything like that, then yeah, this is definitely worth your time. It is a massive, huge game. It's got excellent worlds, excellent environments, loads of different things to do in it, loads of things that you don't need to do in it to complete the story, and all that kind of good stuff. But, looking through rose-tinted spectacles at the previous 3 games and making direct comparisons via Mass Effect Andromeda, I think is a bit unfair. And again, I'm going to stress that it is unfair. I think Mass Effect Andromeda in its own right is an absolute blast. It is absolutely massive. It offers so much within its core game elements. It does fall flat in its face on a few points, and I'm going to come across those shortly. But the game, and this game specifically, and also the previous Mass Effect games, were designed in a manner that the developers actually want you to play through the game a number of times. And that's the reason why, for me, there's a couple of gripes in there that I think shouldn't really be there given the size of the game itself. And do I want to go back and replay all those missions again just simply to get maybe a different conversation set piece changed to a different answer and so on and so forth. So just to carry on, I do apologise, that's my phone buzzing away there. I'll carry on. The game itself is absolutely massive. The story, the main story campaign is brilliant. I absolutely loved it. I really, really, really did enjoy it. I thought it was pretty good. It's certainly not in comparison to, finding out what the Reaper threat is, what Reapers are, finding new species in the Milky Way and all that as per the previous games. There is a kind of certain, how will I put this, familiarity of Mass Effect Andromeda, comparing it to previous ones in regards to the characters and who you actually hook up with in the game and who's part of your crew and all this kind of stuff. But in all honesty, you've got your Krogans and all the rest of these guys in the game that are still, that were kind of in the first game, but are kind of brought forward a little bit more here. You don't find out much about kind of much more about the backstories of all the different species and all that kind of stuff. But for the game, for what it is, I thought it was an absolute blast, and I do love Mass Effect 1, 2 and 3. Just to go into a couple of the mechanics of the game directly, the driving mechanics in the game on this are excellent. I loved the Mako remake, or makeover, I should say. The Mako drives like a dream. It's absolutely brilliant. It's a good blast. There's lots of wee different things and tricks you can do on it. Yeah, it was a lot of good fun. I really did enjoy the Mako in this version of the game as compared to the previous version. So there is a definite positive up on the previous games. As you can see for the clips as well, it does look stonkingly good in some parts. In other parts it slightly is kind of just doing what it needs to do. But the combat in this game is utterly excellent. But it also is one of the reasons why the game slightly falls flat on itself a little bit. Now, the fighting and the mechanics of the combat and all that are excellent, without an absolute doubt. I can't recommend it enough. The jetpack thing is a brilliant addition to the combat element. But the one thing that does let down the combat is that the game in itself, even when you've completed it, I've completed it at 99%. I have one remnant core out of 9 to find, and I've searched everywhere for it. I've completed every task, I've opened every cache, and these remnant cores are actually a random drop rather than being able to be guaranteed from certain areas or certain bosses. So it's just been my luck that I've not been able to actually get this final remnant core to get 100% of the game complete on my save profile. So it's a wee bit irking in that regard, and it's not actually a trackable mission either, believe it or not. So I have completed absolutely everything in the game, all the regathering missions, all the non-essential missions, all the chatting missions. I've done absolutely everything and completed the campaign obviously as well. So I think I've kind of got a good insight into what the game offers. Now, as I said, one of the irksome things about the combat itself is that the game in its entirety doesn't actually give you enough skill points for you to invest in all your different tech, biotic and soldier mechanics, soldier trees, all these kind of trees that offer different options in how you play the game, whether it's pull, push, nova bomb, or all that kind of stuff. And it was irksome because you do kind of have to kind of pick a play style and work towards just building that up, rather than spreading all your skill points across all the different categories and effectively making yourself weaker for the end game activities or the end game part of the game, the story that you're working towards doing. So to me that is very irksome, but the reason for that is simply because the developers do expect you to go back and play the whole thing again. Now obviously you keep all your skill points and your character traits, but you do start the game from i.e. point 0 and continue on again, so you would be able to get all your powers up to full blast, all your tech up to full blast and all that kind of stuff, but it does take away from the diversity in which you can do in the game in the early part of it. You really do want to try loads of different things and play in different play styles just to find out what's working for you, what's not working for you, even just to play it in that regard and try different things out, as I say, is very, very irksome, and is the one thing for me that lets the game down, is you just don't get enough skill points in the game in order to actually get everything unlocked up to its entirety, or even half the stuff unlocked up to its entirety, and I found that a bit annoying personally. However, it didn't stop me playing the game, it didn't stop me loving the game, and it certainly didn't stop me thinking, I wouldn't want to buy this. I think I'll hand it back into the shop and get a refund. It didn't make me want to do anything like that. the reason for that is simply because the developers do expect people to revisit this game at some point, whether it's immediately after they finish the campaign, or whether, you know, it's maybe going to be a bit later on down the line. People might come back to it and go, oh yeah, I think I'll try and invest more into these biotic skills, get these powers up, and, you know, see how the game plays in that regard. So with that said, the combat is absolutely excellent. I cannot fault it. The weapons are superb. Every weapon has its own unique feel, its own unique power, its own unique options, and they're really, really good. The other thing that is in the game also is crafting. Now, crafting again is one of these... I'll put it a different way. The game does introduce lots of different currencies within the game that you earn in different ways, whether that be skill points, whether that be EVP points, whether that be crafting points in order to craft and build and, you know, resource and research, you know, different things in order to make them. But again, the reason I think is built like that is simply because the developers do expect you to come back and play the game on a number of occasions in order to build up this massive character profile that you have access to, and all these different powers and weapons and attributes and so on and so forth. So, you know, bear that in mind if you've heard other reviewers saying the same thing. Basically, I think what they're forgetting to state is, well, Mass Effect 1, 2 and 3, many people played through those games numerous times in order to do all the different numerous things that you could do so on it, and I think the developers are expecting people to do the same again on this, and hence it's the reason why the currency development within the game for all the different types of currencies that are there, and there are quite a lot. There's EVP, there's skill points, you know, there's so many in there. I couldn't actually just tell you just off the top of my head what they all are, but the reason that there's so many is so that you can build up different things at different levels and look to revisit it at a later date, basically, and build them up to their maximum potential. Now, for instance, the EVP points, the maximum that I could actually earn in the game, I think I was able to unlock 20 talents out of 28 or something like that. So I got quite close to being able to complete the EVP stuff, but I didn't actually have access to every single option within those 3 clusters that you have access to. And again, a lot of people will find that irksome or annoying, but it actually, to me, just makes it, you know, anything you choose, you know, it makes it valuable to you as a player. You know, it makes that experience very valuable, because you know you're going to be limited to a certain degree in what you're able to do and what you're going to be able to kind of decide to do as you progress through the campaign and through the story. Now, as you can see for the clips here, some of the graphics in this game are absolutely right up there with the best of them, and sometimes it does fall a little bit flat, but given the size of the game itself, it's doing everything it needs to do, and I did find it an absolute blast. I thought the game graphically, personally, was more than adequate and very, very beautiful, very, very stunning in certain areas, and some of the environments are hugely massive. And unfortunately, with that comes another issue, and that is, how do you fill out these vast spaces with things to do in them and make it worth your time doing it? And that's where it falls into the, you know, the kind of tropes of having these, you know, typical open world issues, you know, where games that have an open world have this kind of issue where they have to put in meaningless things to do in them in order to make it feel like a vast world. Now, the character interaction within all the different characters that are in the game is definitely still there. It's been simplified for this version of Mass Effect Andromeda, possibly just to make it a slightly bit easier. It's not so quite black and white as it was before. There are different options there. But I did enjoy it. I didn't find it detracted away from the experience or anything like that. You're still able to, as you can see here, you're still able to romance the characters and do stuff like that. You're still able to kind of, get on the bad side of characters and do all that kind of crazy stuff. But again, this character here isn't Ryder. Ryder was such an iconic character that you're never ever going to be able to get another guy like him again in a Mass Effect game, because it would just draw comparison, and it would end up being a negative comparison for that purpose. Take the game for what it is. If you liked Mass Effect before, you're going to like this Mass Effect, and you'll continue to play through your campaign. You'll continue to see what's happening with the story and see the story unfold as it goes. And basically, it is a kind of return to familiar territory, so to speak. In a lot of regards, you'll feel as, you don't meet loads and loads of new different species, although there are some new species in the game, and you do interact with them, you do get them on your team, so on and so forth here. Now, as you can see here, this is the kind of EVP system here. I've been able to unlock, I think it's 20, yeah, I've been able to unlock 20 out of the 28, but this is me virtually at end game activity. This is me at the end game, so I'm not able to unlock, I know I'm not going to be able to unlock any more of these, so it does make the choices that you have within these categories very personal and very valuable to you as a player, which again I think is important to remember, given that the developers and the way the game's set up is it does expect you to go back and play it again and again, maybe a couple of times at the very least. And that's the same issue that you have with the skills and with other currencies within the game that contribute to you building up your character and different aspects that you have as well. So bear that in mind. It's not necessarily a negative, it's just that you do have to realise that the developers do expect you to come back and play the game again at a later date, and you'll build up these full points later on and not have the issue in your but the issue is on your first playthrough you won't be able to unlock every single thing at all. That's clear to me. But as you can see for the game itself, and some of the clips, it is absolutely stunning in certain areas. It really is. The character animations, facial animations do tend to let it down slightly, but as I say, if you can look past that and just play through the game and enjoy it for what it is, you will absolutely have a blast. I kid you not. The combat is excellent, the driving is excellent, the variation of worlds are really good, but they do fall into the tropes of snow world, jungle world, desert world. They fall into these very typical tropes, and I do feel it did let it down very slightly, in my own personal opinion. However, it didn't stop me playing the game. You've got a volcano section, for instance, so that kind of tells you something. Is it does fall into these kind of standard tropes of what we see in other games, and it is a bit of a shame there isn't more variety in the worlds as themselves, because you are in a new galaxy, so I would have expected to see just maybe a little bit more variety in that. But given what we're playing, given what we're seeing, I absolutely had a blast. If you like the video, guys, please hit that like, hit that subscribe. Tell me what you think and all that kind of good stuff. Again, I loved the game. I thought it was a great addition to the Mass Effect universe. It's clearly set up and opened up for follow-up games to continue, and I'm really looking forward to them. I did complete the game 99% on my character save. I did start a new save plus game as well, just to see kind of how it started out and all that kind of stuff, and it basically just starts you back at the start of the story again, but with all your traits and all your skills still applied to your character. Again, I do want to actually quickly reiterate that the crafting that you have available to you as well is slightly limited in the resources that you have available regarding research data and all that kind of stuff. But it was a lot of fun. I did actually create a machine gun or an assault rifle, sorry, I should say, that actually fired electricity. Wow, just utterly blown away by that things like that in the game. I just thought it really, really brought something new to the game, but a lot of people may not like it simply because you don't always have the option in order to, you know, basically craft everything and try everything on your first go. And again, I cannot stress this enough, the developers do expect you to be playing the game, but playing it maybe 1 or 2 times through in order for you to actually have a flavour and a taste of everything that the game has to offer. I mean, the first time that I went into a vault in the first world, I was utterly blown away. There's lots of wee puzzles in there, lots of things to do, lots of searching to fight, you know, searching for crates and stuff like that to get materials and weapons and all that kind of good stuff. But a lot of stuff you can craft, but a lot of stuff you can actually pick up as you play the game as well, so bear that in mind. Don't always try to be crafting every 2 minutes when round the next corner you might open up a crate and get exactly what you were looking to try and craft in the first place. The game does have a nice steady pace to it. It does feel like a Mass Effect game, but yeah, the tropes and the issues are, you know, the character animations not so great sometimes. The skill points and the currencies that are available within the game do hinder you from actually getting everything 100% complete on your first playthrough, but again, you're expected to play it at least one more time in order to get all that stuff checked out. Your research and development issues are that there's only so much research and development you can do, so bear that in mind. But the story itself was utterly excellent. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was great. There is some interactions with your characters that maybe a lot of people actually haven't had because they didn't play the game to, i.e. 99%. I've had some interactions with some of the characters, like i.e. the Krogan, where all I did was laugh. The Krogan character in this game is absolutely brilliant. Very, very good. I absolutely loved him. I thought it was great, and some of the interactions you have with him, and you know, personal parts of the game that aren't to do with the actual ongoing story, I thought were absolutely excellent and hilarious. I did put up a clip a few days ago about the movie night mission that you're able to complete. And unfortunately, I did think that end cut scene for doing everything in the game and getting that reward and getting that cut scene, I think it was a complete and utter fail personally, for all the wrong reasons. It was hilarious, and it is a bit of a shame, but it is what it is. You know, nothing can be perfect, guys. It's very unlikely we'll ever get something that's 100% perfect. And, you know, given that Mass Effect 1, 2 and 3 were so groundbreaking in their time as well, is something to remember. But as I said, if you like the video, guys, please hit that like, please hit that subscribe, please hit that comment, tell me what you think, tell me if you'll be playing it, you know, let me know what's going on with your side of the game, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Thanks very much.